What is up, everybody? Austin here from Glory Visuals. Welcome back to another film gear unboxing slash sort of review. This is not a product that we are buying for the first time. We actually own two of these monitors already. I have one just here to my right that I'm using to monitor this shot right now. But I wanted to walk through the FeelWorld Luts 7S monitor unboxing, go through some of the menus, and really give you guys a feel of what you can expect from this budget 7-inch monitor. Let's go. Alrighty, before we get into the video, hey! What's that?
Ooh, what's this?
You like my shirt and my hat? Aw, thank you. I really appreciate that. You can actually buy your own Glory Gang gear. We just launched a apparel company separate from Glory Visuals, but really in partnership with a friend, and it's launched. It is out now, and I'm so excited about it. You can head to glorygang.shop to get your gear today. And one last thing before we get into this unboxing, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Make sure you subscribe if you like this content. Hit the bell to be notified anytime we post videos, whether it's a podcast, unboxing, behind the scenes, vlog, you name it. We're doing all kinds of content we put out on this channel. So make sure you hit the bell, leave us a comment. If there's a piece of gear that you can't live without, would love to check it out. I'm constantly researching, pouring myself into articles and watching dozens and dozens of these unboxings just like this one to try to figure out, is this the right piece of gear for me? And is this the next upgrade that makes sense for me? All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the FeelWorld Luts 7S. This is a 7-inch monitor, and it measures at 2200 nits, which is plenty for daylight viewing. Really, even in direct sunlight, you may want to use a hood just for comfort, but you can see this thing outside. And that was a really big deal when we were choosing monitors. So let me just kind of break down why we purchased this monitor and why we purchased more than one and why we're continuing to purchase them. We've been using a Small HD 702 Touch as our primary director's monitor ever since we purchased the Vaxis Atom 500 wireless kit, and we've been using wireless video really for the first time in our company, which is really cool. It's added a ton of value to not only us, but our clients. But we've been using the 702 Touch, and it's a really nice monitor. Right? It should be. It's $1,600 still. We purchased it just over a year ago, and it was great. But the one thing I always had issues with were, honestly, the color really was very far, just straight out of the box. It was very, very far from the end result that you would view on an iMac or iPhone or a more color calibrated display, which I was really surprised by considering it was so expensive. And you can adjust your RGB saturation and gains and contrast and all of those things. So I was able to get it, as close as I could. But I was always a little bit frustrated with the image out of the Small HD 702 Touch. Now we bought one of these because we added a Nucleus M and a wireless motor to our kit, and we wanted to have a second monitor. The Vaxis Atom 500 HDMI has two HDMI outs, so you could run one to a director's monitor, one to a focus puller's monitor. So we purchased this one really to use as a focus puller's monitor for a music video shoot. And I was so impressed with the image quality that came out of a $370 monitor. Even better, I thought the image actually looked better and more natural and closer to the final product than the 702 Touch, which was very surprising to me considering it's literally 5 times the price. So I got it, and I purchased another one right away because I thought it was great. Put it on the Steadicam for that music video shoot. I ran Steadicam. The 7-inch, the FeelWorld Luts 7S was my primary monitor on Steadicam, and the FeelWorld Luts 7S was also our remote monitor for our focus puller. And I would just say everything worked so well from the Vaxis Atom system, which, short plug here, has been incredible. We've had really no issues with range or dropouts for the most part, very, very seldomly. And it works all day on a single battery. It's just great. Fast enough to pull focus on from our experience using it on a full day music video shoot, pulled focus on it all day remotely on Steadicam, thought it worked great. The Luts 7S was also perfect for that occasion. So I liked this monitor so much from using it for a full day that I actually posted and sold the 702 Touch, and I purchased another one for our director's monitor because I just like it that much. It's brighter. The picture looks better in my opinion. Of course, the operating system and menus are not as good as Small HD. Nobody's are. But all of the features that I needed were also in this monitor. And I was able to purchase not only this monitor, but another 15-inch monitor that I'll have a review for coming out soon, the OC Megamon. I was able to purchase both of these with the funds that I sold the 702 Touch for. So in my opinion, that is an upgrade. Now, there are a couple things that are not as good about this monitor as the Small HD 702 Touch. Of course, one of those being its build quality. It is 100% plastic, besides what I believe is a glass display. The display feels very stiff and very much like glass, but aside from that, it is 100% plastic, whereas the Small HD 702 Touch is an alloy body. It's much more rigid. It has, a heat sink and doesn't require fans or things like that. And I'm sure that when really pushed to the extremes, if you're shooting, outside documentaries where you're out in extremely hot temperatures all the time, you probably want something that's built a little bit better. But for the majority of our uses, we've been getting by on the Small HD Focus, which also has a plastic shell for the past 4 years, and we've loved them the whole time. So I think this will be fine. Another caveat with plastic bodies is Small HD just released a cage for this monitor that I have purchased 3 of. So I will be putting all 3 of these monitors in cages. And the brilliant thing about that is the Small HD cages actually will work with the tilt arm that is included in this set. So I think by putting a cage on this bad boy, it will do just fine. I think it'll be plenty protected. You can also get screen protectors for it, things like that. So I'm not 100% set on build quality being the absolute must-have for this scenario. So without further ado, I know that was long-winded, but I wanted to give an explanation of really why we purchased this piece of gear, because I think that's important for people who are building companies. You have to make these decisions, and there's a lot of balance that goes into them of price. What do you need right now? What do you need in the future? What can get you by right now at a cheaper price? What other pieces of gear could you be investing in that could actually move your production forward faster? There's a lot of considerations that go into choosing pieces of gear to buy. So I want to do a better job of explaining my thought process. Hopefully that helps you guys as you narrow down your search for an on-camera or production monitor. Okay, shut up, Austin, and get to the unboxing. This is the box. It is a box. It has a sleeve on it. I like the packaging. It's pretty good. For Feel World, I would say they've definitely stepped it up. I purchased my first ever monitor was actually a Feel World monitor, and that thing was awful. That was probably 5 years ago. They've came a long way since then in both their products and their packaging, thankfully. So right off the bat, you see we have on-camera monitor, accurately expose and focus every shot. That's what it's for. We're going to open this up here. Very Small HD-esque packaging. Which is great. Small HD crushes packaging. So an imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, as they say. So in the box, we have obviously your user manual, warranty, certification, all of those things. And then you have a nice kind of custom fit box for the monitor. And there you have the monitor itself. So on the back here, you have 2 L-series battery plates. Both have their own little button to release them. I don't believe these are hot swappable. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below, but I believe I actually tried to remove one of the batteries once, and it relies on like slot A or something like that. So it drains slot 1, then slot 2 or something like that. I took out one of the 2 batteries and the monitor died. So I'm not sure. Again, let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong on that. If this is hot swappable, that's a cool perk. Most of the time though, I'm running this from a V-mount battery using the DC barrel in at the bottom of the monitor. So not really a big deal for me either way. On the bottom here, you have SDI in, SDI out, DC out. So you could use this to power a camera with a dummy battery or something like that. DC in, power from a battery, HDMI out, HDMI in. Here on the left side, you have a headphone jack and a power button that also doubles to turn on or off the touchscreen features. On the top here, you have 3 function buttons, so you can map these to really whatever you want. LUTs, your histograms, aspect ratios, you can really do whatever you want. We can kind of walk through those here in a little bit. Then you have a menu button and wheel. So this will open your shortcut menu at the bottom, and the wheel can be programmable to whatever you want. It is brightness by default. I have left it as brightness because one of my gripes with Small HD's monitors is changing the brightness is a huge pain. You have to touch, swipe, touch, 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 swipe, swipe to change the brightness. On this monitor, all you have to do is scroll the wheel up or down. It also does have an ambient light sensor on the top. I turn that off. I don't like auto brightness, really anything. And the fact that I can adjust it so easily, I don't need auto brightness, but it is nice that they included that. And then on the right side here, you have an SD card, slot for loading your LUTs, and a mounting point for your tilt arm, which is included, which is really sweet. Honestly, that's another big thing with other brands of monitors. A lot of them only offer mounting on the top or mounting on the bottom or on the side. And a lot of times you have to use a magic arm or a ball head or something like that. I really prefer the tilt arm because it keeps the center of gravity consistent. If you're on a Steadicam, if you're handheld, I like being able to tilt it freely, and then it sits where I tilt it. I don't have to unlock, tilt, then lock. I can single-handedly just turn the monitor the direction that I want to face it. So big fan of the tilt arm. Again, that can be used with the small HD cage as well, which is sweet. So that's pretty much the whole monitor. Of course, you have a 1/4 inch, 1/4 20 thread on the bottom. And then on the left and right side as well. So you can mount the tilt arm to either side, and it has little locating points so it doesn't twist once you get it kind of locked in. It really just has friction, so you just turn it where you want it and it sits there, which is great. Okay, moving on. Next, we have the tilt arm itself. And I'm not able to fit these in our camera cages I'm not able to fit these monitors in our camera cases with these on, so I will have to install them anytime I want to use the monitor, but thankfully it is very easy. It's just really 2 turns, and there you have it. There's your tilt arm. So again, this is very nice because single-handedly I can tilt the monitor to where I want, and it leaves it there. And also if I'm using a DC in and I'm running this on Steadicam, I can use this sort of as a faux yoke mount, because yoke mounts for Steadicams are insanely expensive for no reason at all. But this one you can actually mount to a cold shoe mount on a tilt arm or something like that, lock that down, and then you can tilt this. And because this is your center of gravity here, it's really not changing the balance of the Steadicam nearly as much as if it were tilting like this. So hopefully that makes sense, but that is a huge deal for me. Again, because yoke mounts are like hundreds of dollars for like a simple piece of metal that basically does what this does. So this has been my effective solution for building really a cheap Steadicam rig using the Came TV Steadicam rig and some other pieces. So let me know in the comment section if you want me to break down that rig, how I have that balanced, and what parts I needed to really get it up and running like a professional Steadicam instead of some of the parts they give you. Next up, we have an HDMI cable. This is kind of useless to me. I don't have anything that runs, well, no, I guess not. It has a micro, so if I want to use it on an A7 III, I could use this little mini to micro adapter and have this plugged directly into the monitor. I also like that the tilt arm can double as a little stand here, so if you wanted to just put this on a table, you can angle this really at any angle you want. Obviously the HDMI ports are on the bottom, but one nice thing about this monitor is you can actually flip the image vertically and horizontally. So you could then do it like that, set it on its top, have the HDMI cord sticking out of the bottom. You could use this as a tabletop reference monitor, really at any angle, just using this tilt arm, which is kind of nice. So hadn't thought of that before actually, but let's get this box put away and go through some menus, shall we? All right, guys, I have this set up here. We're going to go through the menus. I know this is really weird because it's like, you know, an infinite deal here, but just wanted to run through the menus super fast and all of the features that this monitor has to offer. So there's a couple things with the touchscreen. There's 2 different areas here, one that's in this area and one that's over here. So by changing or dragging up or down over here, you're actually changing the volume. And by dragging up or down over here, you can actually change the backlight. So I actually, let me exit out of this. So I actually am running this at 1% backlight right now, and that is still plenty bright. And that is 100, as you can see, which is super bright. So definitely don't need that. So we're going to go back down to 1%, and then you can adjust volume. The switch on the side, or sorry, one of the custom buttons is okay. To open up your main menu, you just double tap anywhere on the screen. So we'll just go through these one at a time here. So we have focus assist on. You can change intensity. You can change the color. which is cool. Different colors. We'll turn that off for now. Zebras on, change what percent value they will turn on. Monochrome, blue, red, or green, or grayscale, or off. False color on, you can go through type 1, 2, 1, 2, or off, it looks like. So 2 different kinds of false color. 9 grid. So the next one is all of our markers. So you can do 9 grid on or off, safety marker on or off, and then that safety marker you can flip through different aspect ratios. So let's turn the 9 grid off for now. So you can flip through different aspect ratios for safety zones, and then off. Center marker, pretty self-explanatory. You probably can't really see this on the screen because it's yellow. Let me change this to, there you go, black. Now you can see it. Can't really see the 9 grid now, but you get the point. You can change the color. You can see it here in person, but black, yellow, red, green, blue, or white are your options for colors. You have a marker matte, so this is actually somewhat of a letterbox. You can change that from, you can go, let's see. So you can change the opacity of that from 100% all the way down to really 25% opacity. And then obviously you can toggle different options here for, here, let's just make this all the way opaque here so we can show this. So a bunch of different marker mats here. And I believe and then again, marker color. So can change that. Go ahead and flip that to off. No marker matte for me for today. All right, next we have underscan, overscan. Just adjust the frame. I'm going to do underscan because overscan cuts off a few pixels here. You can change your video aspect here to be whatever you want. Obviously, this would then stretch it to that instead of just cropping. It's not like a overlay. It's actually just stretching it. So that's interesting. I guess you could do anamorphic mode that way if you wanted to, but it does have, I'm going to leave that on auto, and it does have a built-in anamorphic mode, 1.25, 1.33, 1.5, 2.0, 2.0 mag. I don't know what that one is. What is that? Okay, so it's a 2-point crop, but it actually will crop the sides off. I'm not really sure what that one's for if you're like pulling focus, and 2.0 is just way too little of the screen to be able to check your focus, but I love that they give you all those options. Auto mirror, I turned this off because I actually wanted to flip the display, which I really appreciate that you can do that. So you can flip this horizontally. So if you're using it as a selfie monitor, that way it mirrors the image instead of being a flipped image. And you can flip it vertically as well, so that everything is upside down. So I actually want this all to be upside down so that I can set the monitor here and have the HDMI port up here. So I have that on for now, but you can turn that off. I like the fact that you can flip the screen because different ways of shooting with the tilt arm is just helpful. Our menu disappeared here. Let's go back. So next one here, zoom, so you can zoom in. You can also just pinch to zoom, which is pretty nice. Very nice feature that they included. You can just pinch and then drag this around to check your focus, which is very nice. So love that they included that. Honestly, it feels like a very small HD touch, which is great. So I probably wouldn't use the zoom times very often. Freeze. So that actually freezes the frame. So what I'm doing here is not affecting this whatsoever. So you could actually do a freeze frame and yeah, essentially just freeze at whatever frame you're on right now. So we'll turn that off. Okay, so pixel to pixel, if you are receiving a 4K signal, which I am not, I'm receiving a 1080p signal from our Vaxis Atom system right now. So if you are receiving a 4K signal, turning pixel to pixel on would actually crop into an exact 1080 crop of that 4K frame so that you're able to check your focus more accurately and really see every single bit of detail that is in your frame. So I like that you can do that. You can also custom map that to a button, which is very nice. So we'll keep moving on here. So that's it for that menu. Next, we have our waveforms. So you can turn all waveforms on. So you have pretty much everything there, and then it crops the display to this area of the screen. I know there's a lot going on here because it's multiple feeds of the same thing, but bear with me. So we'll go through. So then you can turn them all on or off together. So you pretty much have the full range of scopes here that you would come to expect on a production monitor. So we're just going to turn all of those off for now to get our screen to not be so cluttered here. And then we'll go down. So here's where you can switch on or off the LUT here. I'm not using the proper LUT, so that's why it looks like crap. But it does have a lot of your basic camera conversion LUTs built in. You can also load LUTs, like I said, via the SD card on the side, which I have not done. I have a few SD cards on order currently so that I can start loading LUTs on there. But they have to be like SDHC, which I don't really own anymore because SDXC and UHS-2 and all the new standards have really taken over. So I don't really have those types of SD cards anymore. So anyways, when you turn that on, you can import LUTs, you can turn on the LUT, you can turn on if the LUT is outputted through the HDMI or if you just want to send a clean feed. I like that option is in there. A lot of these cheaper monitors don't include these fine details like switching on or off the output LUT. Here, let's turn the LUT back off. HDR, this is where if you are shooting with an HDR signal, you can go through here. You can see all the different brands that they have. So you can do Sony, S-Log3. You can do that in HDR, which is interesting. I'll have to play around with this a lot more, but if you're shooting S-Log, it would appear that this is a way to preview that with a higher dynamic range. I'm going to turn HDR off because I'm shooting an SDR currently. So I'll have to test that out on the FX3. I don't shoot HLOG. I don't shoot HLG on the A7 III, really, or log in general because of the 8-bit color depth. But on the FX3, I do shoot S-Log. So I'll be interested to see if that improves the viewing quality or the overall dynamic range of what you're monitoring, which would be really great. Of course, you have your color temperature. I'm going to leave that. Backlight mode, this is set to auto by default. This will use the light sensor on the top of the monitor to adjust the backlight. I don't want that. I want to do it manually. I don't want it changing on its own. So I turn that to manual immediately. And then you can set your backlight level, or you could just use the touchscreen on the home page. Here's where you do all your color calibration, adjust your brightness, contrast, saturation, hue, sharpness, etc. And lastly, here's how we can customize what the wheel does. So I'm going to leave that on backlight, but just to go through zoom time, volume, backlight. So those are, so you can use that to zoom, adjust the volume, or adjust the backlight, which I prefer 9 grid. Okay, we're back to 9 grid. So I am actually going to set this to LUT switch. I would like to be able to click one button and have my LUT turn on or off. So I'm going to leave that there. As I really run just HDMI signal, I'm going to change this one as well because I don't really need to be plugging in via SDI very often. I'm going to change this one to a histogram so that I have that. Third, man, what do I even do here? Maybe I'll set that to turn on my 9 grid. Let's do that. Language, on-screen display, so you can change the opacity of the things that are on the screen. So off is fully opaque, and then high opacity or high alpha, I guess, will make that more viewable so that you can see through the UI instead of it blocking what's behind it. So you could change that. on-screen display time. I'm going to change that to 15 because it keeps cutting out on me. Then you can change your volume here. Mute. You can save this configuration or load configurations to an SD card. So what I'm actually going to do, because I have 3 of these and I've set this up for the first time on this one, I'm actually going to load or save that configuration to an SD card and load it to the other monitors. So you can make sure all your settings are the same at all times, which is really cool. Really a lot of features in here. So reset, change your input, firmware update, and that is pretty much it. So let's go ahead and test out our buttons here. So we have button number 1, which should be our LUT switch. Yep. Number 2 is our histogram. And number 3 is our 9 grid. And that's perfect. And I can change all of those parameters to be whatever color or whatever really I want. And that's pretty much it. A really great UI, I think, for a cheap monitor. Again, this is literally a fifth the price of a small HD monitor, and I think the UI is intuitive. It's easy to use. The fact that there's a touchscreen, you can drag, and everything is just very quick and responsive. Really feels more like a premium field monitor. Well, that has been it for the FeelWorld LUT 7S unboxing and menu walkthrough, whatever you want to call it. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. Hit the bell to be notified whenever we drop content. Be sure to hit thumbs up and leave us a comment if there's any pieces of gear, again, that you can't live without on set. Would love to know about them. Let us know. And until next time, peace.